Instagram Live. We have that running now too. Awesome. So I also mentioned, as per usual, I'm going to be using a band today. If you have a mini band, you can use that. Otherwise, you can just tie this guy in a knot. I'm just going to move my step out of the way. And I'm going to use actually the same warm-up as we started with last week. So you can start standing, and we're going to do some inchworms. Let's do 3 inchworms to start. So we're going to really stretch out the hamstrings as we walk our hands out slowly into a plank position. Plank position, hold plank for a moment, engage core, then walk your toes into your hands. I don't know about you guys, but my hamstrings are tight from riding this weekend. We'll do that 2 more times. And then engage core, hold that plank for just a moment, really warm up all of the tension in the core before walking your toes in. And see if you can get your feet all the way to your hands before standing back up. And then stepping up to repeat. We'll do 1 more inchworm. Slowly walking down, holding, engaging the core, and then slowly walking the toes in. And then standing up. Nicely done. We're going to come down to the ground, and we're going to bring our hands and our knees down to the ground. And we're going to do that same spine twist that we did before with one hand on our ear. We're bringing the elbow down to our opposite hand and then bringing the elbow up to the sky. So we're continuing just to build a little bit of heat through our core, but also loosening up our back. This will feel really nice if you've been sitting at a desk working from home. And you can move through this at a pretty comfortable range of motion here. So don't feel like you need to force it at any point, but if it feels good to pause at a specific moment, feel free to pause at the highest or the lowest point. We'll do approximately 10 of these on each side. I've got 1 more, and I'm switching to the other side. So I'm just switching to the other side. I can really notice sometimes if I'm feeling tight, if my one side gets way higher than the other in this spine twist. So you can kind of take note, see if one side is really different than the other. Nicely done. We're going to do approximately 10 of these as well. I'm going to do 1 more here for my 10. And then I'm going to grab my band. So we're going to come back to the same exercises as last time where we did the clamshells and the single leg glute bridge. So if you have a mini band and you want to use it, this is a great opportunity to challenge your glutes a little bit. But if you feel like the band is too much, you don't have to use a band. But we'll put the band just above our knees here. We're going to come down onto our side. And I have my shoulders, my hips, and my feet in a line. And my knees are in front of my hips, so that I kind of have my knees jutting out. My hand is on my top hip to make sure that it doesn't roll forward or back. And then I'm going to lift my top knee, squeezing my glutes right here, and then lowering it back down. So we're going to do about 10 of these on each side. Hold at the top for a couple of seconds and really squeeze the glutes. So you might feel like it's a challenge to lift your knee up pretty high here. So don't focus on the height that you can lift your knee. Just focus on intentionally squeezing your glutes. And if that's even still pretty hard, sometimes even just poking your glutes helps activate them. Thinking about pressing your hips forward even more can help activate them. My glutes are actually kind of sore from my workout today, so I really feel this exercise. So you guys can hopefully enjoy that with me. Once you're done 10, you can flip over onto the other side, and we're going to do 10 of these on the other side. How are these guys feeling for you today?
A little tired.
Are you guys able to feel your glutes?
Last Monday, my glutes were sore for 3 days. Ew.
Nice. That's awesome. Who knew? Well, now you know.
I also knew that they were there, which was interesting on bike rides. I was like, oh, that's what glutes feel like.
That's awesome. Once you're done 10 of those clamshells on each side, you can either keep the band around your knees or you can take the band off. And we have 2 levels of modification, either for 10 full 2-leg glute bridges here, where your glutes are engaged, your hips are going to the sky, or you can put just 1 foot on the ground, the other foot is applying tension to the band so my thighs stay parallel, and I'm doing 5 on each side of single leg glute bridges. So you can choose your level of difficulty here, but we're really trying to lift with the glutes and keeping the core strong so we're not arching our back when we lift, and just see what level of difficulty works for you. This is another one where it's interesting to see the difference. Often if we have a dominant side, like if your right leg dominant, this will feel a lot easier on your right side than your left. So it's really interesting for you just to like take note and see how that feels. If you have the band on, you can take the band off. And we're going to come to the final part of our warm-up. We're going to do all those exercises twice, so we're going to come back to them all. But we're going to finish off with the back lunge to knee up. So I don't know if you guys remember this one from last week, but a re-explanation is that we're trying to use the glutes that we've just activated to really stabilize our front knee. So we're going to bring our back foot as far back as we can before touching the knee down. And then again, trying to keep the middle of the knee over the middle of the foot as we bring the knee up and through. And we're going to do 5 of these on each side. Nice and slow, trying to focus on middle of the knee over middle of the foot. This one is less about strength and more about focus, balance, and using the right muscles to stabilize. So it's really big emphasis on glutes, hip, and core stability here to get that knee to align properly. We're just gonna do 5 on each side so you guys can switch when you get to that 5 mark. This whole concept of going through this range of motion while trying to keep the knee aligned is exactly what we're gonna focus on with our low body exercise today. So last week we had the single leg deadlifts to help focus on glute stability and balance. And this week we're gonna do either a step up or a lunge to have that same target. So the step up or lunge will be much more similar to this back lunge to knee up style of engagement. Good work, guys. I'll give you a moment here to finish up. And again, if you find it too challenging, you can always put your toe down a little bit earlier to go through that range of motion with less weight. So we're going to jump ahead. We're going to come back to this one. So if you didn't finish 5 on each side, that's totally fine. We're going to come back to it. We're going to come back to the top 4 warm-up exercises, and we're going to run through them all again. So we're going to go back to that inchworm. We're bending down, feeling a little bit of stretch in the hamstrings through your plank, and then toes to your hands. My hamstrings are actually feeling so much better in this second round of inchworms than in the first round. The warm-up is working. Are you guys feeling pretty stiff and tight this afternoon, or are you guys feeling pretty good?
Pretty stiff.
Yeah. It was a relatively nice weekend. We got out and tried to ride one last good ride of the late summer leaking into fall weather. But definitely feeling that. Good. One last inchworm here before we come up to the top. And then once you're done with those 3 inchworms, we're going to come down to the hands and knees, and we're repeating those spine twists. So hopefully, just like I felt my hamstrings warm up in those inchworms, hopefully you also feel your back warm up a little bit through these twists, just to feel like you're losing some of that stiffness, either from riding or from sitting. Nicely done, ladies. We're going to do approximately 10. And I'm switching sides after this one here. Nicely done. Again, you can kind of like take note, like see if your left side is stiffer than your right side. I always find my left side just doesn't get quite as far as my right side. A little bit of asymmetry there that I notice in my own body. Nice. Once you're done about 10, you can go ahead and you can grab that band, that mini band that we have. We're going to jump back into those glute activators. So they're either with a band just above the knees or with no band. Either way works. We're jumping back into those clamshells where we're on the ground. Our shoulders, hips, and feet are in alignment. Our knees are in front. Our hand is holding our hip to make sure that our hip isn't going back or forward. And you can jump right into using your glutes to lift your knee up. And we're doing approximately 10 on each side. Nicely done. And again, like really, like the big emphasis on actually feeling the glutes really squeeze and engage. So if you want to like hold at the top and just like feel that engagement at the top for an extra moment or two longer, then that will really help the brain connect with the muscle to kind of say like, okay, turn on, this is the right muscle, here we go. Nicely done. Once you've got 10, you can switch over to the other side. Good job, everybody. One thing that you can do to check in with yourself as you're doing this exercise is you can take a quick peek at your hips, and you want to imagine that if you were to take like a pole and you were to drive it right through your pelvis, that it would be pointing straight down into the ground so that you're not leaning back into your hips or kind of going forward. You want to make sure that your hips truly are stacked right on top of one another and perpendicular to the ground so that you would kind of get that pull straight through them, straight into the ground. Once you're done 10 on each side of the clamshells, you can move on to your back. And again, either 10 double leg glute bridges or 5 on each side, single leg glute bridges as the next exercise. Nice, and again, all those muscles that we just activated in the clamshell, we're gonna try and use in the glute bridge. So see if you can feel, if you have the band around your knees, see if you can put a little bit of pressure into that band to feel your gluteus medius that we just activated in the clamshell. See if you can feel that engage even in your glute bridge here. That's what the band is there for, is to give us a little bit of kind of something to push into to activate the sides of our glutes as well. Nicely done. Once you're done all of your glute bridges, you can come on up to standing. And we'll see if maybe now that your glutes are even more activated, how these back lunge to knee ups go. So again, if you're having difficulty with this, feel free to put your foot down to take some of the weight off to make this exercise a little bit easier to go through a lunge to knee up. Or if you feel like you're getting better, you can try and keep the weight off of your back foot as much as you can. But find a happy medium. These exercises are very challenging for the balance. So you do want to be able to keep a little bit of continuous movement happening here. So just find the modification that makes it work for you. So taking a little bit of weight off so that you can actually do the exercise is good. It makes it achievable. And again, we're doing approximately 5 on each side, trying to find the level of difficulty that works for you. Nicely done. Good work, everybody. I'll give you guys a second to finish those off. If you're moving at a slightly slower pace, that's totally fine. If you're moving at a faster pace, you can kind of get a couple of extra ones in here now. We'll give it an extra couple of seconds before we jump into our strength circuit. Good work, ladies. Awesome job. Do those feel any better than last week? Maybe.
I just have terrible glute knee strength, so I'm really bad at this balancing on one leg business, unfortunately.
Something to work on. So for our strength circuit, we're gonna want a band. We're gonna come back to those WITs that we did last week. So that's the one repeat exercise of this session compared to the last session. I also have a step. So you guys can use a step that you have or stairs or whatever you have access to. And then the third exercise that we have also uses the band, a little bit of creative core as per Vicky's request. So we're gonna run through those 3 things. I'm gonna do a quick demonstration of all 3 exercises, and then we're gonna run into the circuit together. We're gonna do the circuit 3 times. So the first exercise, actually we dropped the band. The first exercise is with the step or stair that you have at home. If you have a step, you'll just kind of be like standing off the back of your step. When we're gonna load the foot, we're gonna really focus on engaging the glutes, driving the knee forward so that we get about knee over toes. So we're not keeping our knee over our heel and hinging our hips to kind of jump up into doing the step up. We're gonna engage the glutes, bring the knee a little bit forward, stabilize through the glutes, but then using our quads to help lift ourselves up into the step up position. And then again, the knee kind of comes over the toe a little bit as you drop back. So it's less of a lean forward and jump up and then kind of land like this, and more of a controlled drive up and then back down. Okay, so that's our step up exercise. Our second exercise, a little bit of creative core here. I've got a band that I'm putting around a post. I'm gonna take a split stance. So my foot that's further away from my anchor point is gonna come forward and my other foot's gonna go backwards. And I'm gonna imagine like tucking my hips under, engaging my core and pulling my shoulders back. So this is really like posture specific. And we're gonna be punching the band out. And the band, if I were just to let it go, wants to pull me in. So it's kind of an anti-rotation sensation here as we're punching. So my core is resisting the urge to rotate. We're gonna do that on both sides. And then the last one is the WITs, which we did last week as well. So we're gonna bring the W, elbows down, hands up, pulling the shoulders back behind us. The Y is hands up overhead, shoulders pulling down. And then the T is thumbs up, hands pulling back. So if you don't have a point to anchor your band, we can have a couple of modifications. If you want to, a good modification for the anti-rotation band punches is just to come and kneel on one side of your band and just do a modification by doing something that looks more like this, more like a wood chopper. And then if you don't have a band for the WITs, you can bend over and do them just like this, okay? So you have a couple of modifications if you have no equipment at home. So we're gonna jump right into it. If you guys are ready, you can head over to that step. We're gonna aim to do 8 approximately on each side. It's okay if you go a little bit slower, but try and not use the banister or the wall as much as you can. So you can go ahead, drive the knee forward over the toes, engage the glutes, carefully lift yourself up, really focusing on engaging the glutes and balancing the middle of the knee over the middle of the foot, and avoid using a banister or a wall to help you balance here. If you feel like you're super solid, you can definitely grab a weight and have a weight held at your chest. If you're feeling a little bit wobbly, now's not the time to add weight. Now's just the time to focus on engaging your glutes to help stabilize your knee. Kind of like I mentioned in the back lunge to knee up. This is a very similar style of engagement here. So you just want to really activate those gluteus medius to pull the knee out. The big mistake is often that the knee likes to cave in. So once you're done 8 approximately on one side, you can switch over to the other side. You can do 8 on the other side. And really focusing on not like jumping off of the back foot. You want to think about lifting with that leg the entire time instead of pushing off your back leg. Nicely done. And again, if you're feeling really comfortable and good, you can add weight, but if your knee likes to cave in, the big focus is just making sure that that knee is staying stable and you're activating your glutes to make that happen. Awesome. Once you've done 8 on each side, you can go ahead and you can grab your band and find that point to anchor it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and anchor my band. Again, get you guys started here. So we're doing a split stance with one foot away from the post, that's forward, and one foot back. And again, if you don't have a post, you could just come to a full lunge and kneel on the band to apply some tension. Otherwise, we're bringing the hands to the chest. And notice how I'm perpendicular to my band here. So I'm punching out directly from my sternum. So here we go, you can see the band is anchored right to my left side here, like directly from my left shoulder, and then I'm punching straight out in front of my sternum. Often when I'm doing this, I find it a little bit challenging if my hands are kind of like this, like on handlebars. I like holding it as if I'm like death gripping like my cup. So you have both hands together around the band. And if you're doing this with the modification, you can pull it as if you're like pulling a lawnmower or kind of like across the body style motion if you're doing this with it anchored at your knee. Yeah, exactly. So we can do this one 8 to 10 times. And if you want to make it more challenging, you can step away from the post that you have it anchored to or the door handle you have it anchored to. If you want to make it less challenging, you can come closer to that anchor point. Once you're done 10 on each side, you can switch to the other side. I'm going to just do another demo of the modification for those who aren't able to like anchor down. So if you're switching up to the other side and you don't have an anchor point, you can start with your hands close to your back knee and you're going to try and pull them all the way up and across. So try and get as much, like a big range of motion as you can. It might depend on how much tension you have in that band. If you have a really stiff band, it might be really challenging. So find a modification that works for you. But the whole piece is that you want to keep your core stable through this entire movement. So as you're moving your hands, whether you're doing the band punches or this slightly different kind of lawnmower or chopping sensation, you want to keep your shoulders back, your core strong, and everything engaged with good posture. All right, once you're done those, we're going to bring that band around the post for WYTs. Again, modification if you don't have that anchor point is to bend over. W, elbows come down, hands come up. Y, shoulders are down, hands go to the sky. And then T, thumbs are up and hands are straight out beside the shoulders. The reason I really like to include this one for cyclists is because we spend so much time kind of hunched over our handlebars. We really want to, one, target good posture for good health, but also making sure that we can have good posture on the bike. We don't really want to be hunched over on our bike all the time. We want to be able to have good posture, and we just need to strengthen the muscles that support that good posture so that we can ride better and ride stronger. Nice, so we'll do approximately 5 on each side here. I've got one more set if you're kind of keeping pace with me, or one more round rather. Whew, good work, ladies. All right, you can drop the band once you finished 5. We're gonna come back to those step-ups. Just a quick call to the crowd here. Do you guys feel like you're able to stabilize your knee and to get up confidently, or do you feel quite off balance?
It's not too bad. My right knee is weaker, or sorry, left knee is weaker than my right, but it was injured a while back, so I knew it would be a little weaker.
Okay.
And probably it's just like both my knees just go all over the place.
Okay.
It's the side effect of having a couple of these weird surgeries where they cut in all around this area. So ever since then, I haven't been able to balance very well.
Okay, awesome. So it sounds like you both are still focusing on just keeping the knee stable and strong. So just keep it with no weight, but keep on challenging yourself to like not use something to help you balance. Like keep your hands in and use your core and your hips to help balance instead of using the wall to help balance. Nicely done. And again, we're still focusing on really trying to lift with the front leg instead of pushing off with the back leg. And we're going for approximately 8 on each side here. Nicely done. Once you got 8, you can switch over to the other side, moving at your own pace. And again, like if you're feeling less stable, you might want to slow it down. If you're feeling more stable, you might get a little bit out of sync with your timing, either to me or to each other, and that's okay. Move at your own pace. Nicely done, everybody. Good work. Once you're done those 8 approximately on each side, you can give those legs a little shake out, grab your band, and we're going to go back to those anti-rotation band punches. So I've got my band attached directly beside me. I'm bringing myself into a split stance position, so my leg that's further away from my post is forward, the other leg is backwards. And I'm engaging my core. I'm tucking my hips to make sure that my back isn't arched. My shoulders come back, and it's as if someone's punching me in the gut. And I'm punching the band forward and backwards on each side. So we're going to do approximately 8 to 10 on each side, finding your level of difficulty. You want to imagine that the hands are making a straight line directly from your sternum out to the front. So if you can feel your hands kind of deviate from the line as you come forward and backwards, really focus on engaging the core, keeping yourself strong through that whole movement. And if you need to, decrease the intensity by coming closer to your anchor point so you can get that full controlled range of motion. And then as you get stronger, you can move yourself further out again. And then once you've got 8 to 10, that's my 10th one there, you can switch around to the other side. So you can just spin around, keeping that foot that's farthest away from the anchor point on the outside in front, and the other leg back behind, keeping the hips tucked underneath so that you're not arching your back, the shoulders are pulled back, and the core is nice and tight. Nicely done, everybody. Again, 8 to 10 on this side. Awesome work. Once you've got those 8 to 10, our last exercise of the circuit is those WITs. So we're going to come back to holding the band or bending over, and we're going W, Y, T. We don't really take any rest in between these exercises. We're more so targeting neuromuscular engagement and really trying to connect our brain to these muscles. We're not lifting really heavy. You might feel like there's some shaking happening or some muscle fatigue happening, but in general, with these types of exercises, you don't need a lot of rest, and we're just trying to make this 30 minutes as kind of compact as we can. So we're moving pretty quickly between these exercises. We're just getting 5 of each of these WITs. I've got one more set here for myself. Really feeling the mid-back, pulling the shoulder blades down and away from the ears instead of scrunching them up. All right, we've got one last time through, if my count is right. I'm pretty sure I'm on count here. One more time through for that circuit to get 3 times through. So with no rest or little rest between these exercises, we're going to come right back to that step, really focusing again on the glutes to stabilize, but then the quads to lift, nice and controlled through those step ups. Approximately 8 on each side, trying to feel as much stability out of your glutes as possible. Middle of the knee over middle of the toe is the goal. Nicely done, everybody. Good. Moving at your own pace. I'm hitting about my halfway mark there, so wherever you are, maybe now's a good time to switch sides so that we can all stay on track in this set here. Finishing up kind of together through this last set. Awesome job. You might start to feel a little bit of fatigue in the glutes as we're going here. We've used them a lot throughout our activation warm-up and through all these step-ups, so we're going to persevere through that and really continue trying to engage and stabilize through the glutes. There we go. Nicely done. That was 8 for me, so you can finish up so that you're even on both sides. And we're coming back to the band one last time for those anti-rotation punches. And again, you can try and challenge yourself by stepping further away from that point of anchor, or you can bring yourself in to make it a little bit easier. Emily, I think your band is just way too stiff for this exercise. It's not working out super well for you. Is it okay?
I think I'm just going to put my knee on one side and I'm just going to go like that.
That works. That's probably way better for you. Yeah.
Yeah, because then I can get up to the top because I feel like I can get like here.
Yeah. Yeah, no, putting just one side under your knee is a great modification for you there.
Yeah, because this is the lightest band I have.
Yeah.
The other ones are like, nope, these aren't going to work.
Nope. When you've got to approximately 8 to 10, you can switch over to the other side. These are kind of like continuous movement, so you don't really need to hold or pause at any moment, but we're really just trying to keep the core stable so that our shoulders stay back and our kind of pelvis stays tucked under, we're not arching our back as we create this disturbance by having this anti-rotation force from the band. Nicely done, ladies. Last but not least, we have our WITs to finish off for today. So, getting set up here, thinking about using the mid-back to pull those shoulder blades down and away as much as possible through this exercise. We're avoiding bringing the shoulders up to the ears. So we want to avoid scrunching. We want to really focus on pulling down. I always find the Y is the hardest of this exercise. So if it's really challenging, you could always step forward a little bit for that Y if you need to. So if you needed to step forward for the Y to actually get it up. It's always funny with the Google Meets because the way that the camera is angled, like I don't see anyone's actual arms. I can assume that you guys are going at the WITs as best as you can.
I can tell you I'm feeling fatigued.
All right. Good job. I'm on my last set here for 5, and then we're done. All right, 30 minutes. Good workout.